Hello friends, it's Yusuf on Sunday the 13th of October 2024. Welcome back to Diary of a Leather Craftsman. I've not been in the studio this week, so it's not been possible to post the daily videos, and I am thankful for that because I don't think that was a sustainable strategy anyway. It's not like me to place unsustainable demands on myself. Anyway, it's been a roller coaster of a week, and I'm going to share with you my highlights, insights, and challenges of the week. This week, I started on the London Made Me programme, which is the Mayor of London's flagship programme for creatives based in one of the 12 creative enterprise zones that we have. The programme is divided into 3 phases: learn, build, and trade, and culminates in us having a pop-up shop in the heart of London for the festive month of December. We started the programme this week in the Learn phase, and this is a 2-week programme delivered by Alice Mayer, Crafty Fox Market, and the Lone Design Club, who are all pioneers in their fields. We started the week by giving elevator pitches so that we could get to know one another. Then we got into the finances. We dug deeper into our storytelling and our why, and also the psychology behind selling, and then we got into marketing. And it was a very powerful week for me. I've done lots of workshops before, of course, but I think it's always useful to do them again because you are a different person, you're surrounded by different people, they're delivered by different people, and you're always peeling the layers as a creative. And you also don't know when you might be receptive to the information and when you have done the personal work to reveal a new insight or be able to action something that you learn in a workshop. And this week I really felt that there was a lot of that for me. So some of the things that I learned. On the first day we gave elevator pitches, and for the first time I really embodied what I've achieved or what I'm about, and I am really, really hard on myself. I am extremely critical of myself. I don't give myself any credit. I don't acknowledge anything that I do. In fact, I'm constantly erasing myself on a daily basis now that I think about it. But during this elevator pitch, I really embodied what I'm about. And that just continued in some of the other sessions actually, and has been something that's really matured as I've got through the week, kind of distilling it down into an essence. But during the pitch, it really highlighted to me that maybe for the first time that I'm actually doing a lot better than I give myself credit for, and I've achieved and gone so much further than I ever allow myself to see. And that is a real disservice, I think, in looking constantly to the future and to the things that I think I haven't done or I'm not doing. It means that by not looking at the things that I have done, I never really changed the narrative about myself. So it actually is a hindrance, because as I want to move further and further, if I'm not acknowledging that I'm also better and more developed and more confident, then it's really a disservice to myself and just makes things harder, because I'm not acknowledging that I have developed as I put myself into more and more challenging situations. So that was a really powerful thing to discover. Then on the second day, we had a look at our finances with Patricia from the Design Trust, and I've had workshops with Patricia before. I've signed up to her annual program before, and I actually recall the last time I did a workshop with her, we had a look at the finances, and I was surprised. It was 2 years ago, it was my best year at that time. And again, looked at our finances, and I've had the best year again. And reflecting on that, I thought, why do I only look at my finances when I need to? When I need to submit a VAT report, or when I have to give things to my accountant once a year? And of course, like everything to do with creative business, it's to do with the inner work, the personal story or narrative that we tell ourselves. And I realized that actually it's because I'm addicted to my narrative, and looking at my figures would make me confront that maybe I'm not a failure, and maybe I'm doing things better than I thought I was doing again. And I think that's one of the reasons why I don't look at my figures, because then I can continue to hold this narrative as I go through life that I'm a failure, I'm not able to make this work, there's something wrong with me, and that this is not going to work. And that really was eye opening, because if I actually did look at my figures, and if I took charge of my figures, and if I actually worked proactively and made decisions about what I want to do in my business and what kind of finances I need to live the kind of life that I want to live, then I could probably make the figures move in the direction that I wanted rather than burying my head in the sand. So I think, again, until we do that inner work, then our finances will not really match that, or rather, our finances will match however we feel about ourselves. And actually, that realization really hit me on the third day when we had a fantastic talk by Jula Anisha Palmer. And she shares a very similar upbringing and background to myself. And hearing her story, it really was powerful. A, because it was so similar to mine, and B, because it really highlighted why I do what I do. And at the heart of why I do what I do is this desire to create a safe space for my self expression, something that didn't exist for me growing up. And it's something that I have felt at every stage, really, and I've rejected it or resisted it and worked to move away from it. So when I moved to university to read law at the London School of Economics, I thought that would be a place where I would finally fit in, or I could be myself, and that didn't work for me. And training to be a solicitor didn't work for me, and working, it didn't work for me. I always felt constricted in some way, and that's why it's been so important for me to not find a place where I could be fully myself, but to create that, because then I am in control of exactly how that is going to be. And I think that is really evident now when I look at my studio, because my studio doesn't look like any other leatherworking studio. It's really cozy, it's comforting, it feels like home, and that's what I've created, a space, a home for myself where I can feel safe and express myself in a way that is nurturing to me, in a way that wasn't available to me growing up. And it was through that session and the session after, which was about selling and the psychology behind that for creatives, that I really understood that for me and for many creatives, our work is a form of self expression. And for many of us, our self-expression is something that is dampened or curtailed when we are growing up. So then when we become adults and we self-express ourselves through our work, and then we try to make a living from our work, it's no surprise that we struggle, because deep down, again, the personal work, we don't value our self-expression because that's not something that we were taught growing up. So of course, when we try to sell our self-expression, we struggle because we don't value it. So until we truly come to value ourselves and our self-expression, I think that's when we will see the results of that in our practice or our business and in our life. So that was a very powerful day, and I think that's something that many creatives can resonate with. And I think it's particular to creatives and makers when we put so much into what we do. I think there are definitely creatives and makers that are craftspeople, that are business people, and I think it is different for those types of people. But I think there's a large proportion of us who invest all of ourselves in our work, and I think for us, this inner work is really important. The week ended with me having a very difficult interaction with someone that I was working with on a project, and it ended disappointingly, both professionally and personally. But reflecting on it, I realised that makers and creatives in this moment are really, really vulnerable. And not soon after, I received a message from someone else who told me that he is getting ready to pack it in and leave his studio and take a break for a bit. I think that, of course, many of us are struggling right now, whatever we do, but I think that makers are really, really vulnerable right now because the world is looking like a very bleak place. And especially in the West, there is this real sense of a loss of hope. And I think for many of us, when we started out doing what we are doing, we, we, we are fueled by hope, this idea that we can make it by just selling our products. And increasingly, I think that this is a lie. I think this is a myth that we are sold, and everybody wants to sell you the dream of being this creative. And I think that it is increasingly something that is really, really difficult, if not impossible, to do, especially if you're living in the Western world and in an expensive place like London. I think creativity, craftsmanship, art, it's becoming something that is a luxury that people can practice when they have other means to survive. And that's not me being negative about it. It comes from my experience of running my own business and seeing how things can work and don't work for myself, and being surrounded by makers the whole time and really understanding the different types of businesses and personal circumstances that people have, and extrapolating from that how things actually work. And of course, that's not to say that people who do make it don't work hard, but I think the realities of really making a successful, sustainable business or living out of what you do, especially if it's something you make yourself, it's really challenging. And that's one of the reasons why I've been in this place for a couple of years where I'm really on hold to some degree, because I know that repeating the things that I was doing prior to 2002 is not necessarily going to lead me to have a sustainable business. So if you're a maker or an artist or any other type of creative and you are struggling right now, then know that you are not the only one. I speak to one or two people a day who are going through exactly the same thing. And if you think that you need to cut your costs and take a break, then don't be too hard on yourself and do it. I think taking a break, trying new things and coming back to the same thing or changing what you've been doing is just as valid a thing to do. It's all a continual evolving process. Although I have loved this week, it has been challenging to be out of the studio because I know that it's going to be a really intense 3 months leading up to the pop-up and then delivering the pop-up. And I really wanted to get as much off my plate so that when the program finishes next week or the learn phase finishes next week, I can just crack on with making the stock for the pop-up and all the other things that I'm going to have to do to make sure that it's successful for me. So towards the end of the week, I did drag myself to the studio after the classes, even though I was very tired because I have to get these orders off my plate. So I have a watch strap order and a couple of small leather goods orders. Now, I really do not enjoy bespoke work, and I've slowly transitioned away from it, and I mostly say no to these kinds of requests. But I took this from an existing good client of mine, and I agreed to make this watch strap for her husband's birthday, which is coming up at the end of the month. Now, I'm not a small leather goods person, I'm not a watch strap person, and I think that's one of the reasons why I also find bespoke things challenging, because it makes me, I guess, do things that I'm not comfortable with, and I don't like feeling that stress in something that I enjoy doing. Going through this process, I realised maybe I just avoid bespoke work because I don't like feeling uncomfortable, and there is always going to be a level of discomfort when you do something new. But I suppose if you get better at doing bespoke work, then things will be easier. Like with everything, if I kept on making watch straps for different clients, things may change, but there will be a pattern and I will get better at knowing that, for example. I'm sure that's the same with everything, but I really just avoid bespoke work because I don't like that feeling. I would rather the creativity come from within me without having that external stress. Anyway, something to think about later in more detail, whether I should do more bespoke work or not. I keep thinking back to the conversation I had with Tanner Leverstein in Italy, where he said, keep the things in your business that excite you and not the things that don't. And creativity does excite me, but having a bespoke order doesn't. So it's not about the creation of new things. I suppose it's about how they come to me. Because it's been quite a while since I made a watch strap, it's taken me a few attempts to figure out or relearn the intricacies of it. I started out with this one and I wasn't quite happy with the placement of the padding. I made a sample with the stitching to check the distance, and I wasn't happy with using the 2.7. I think it disappears too much on this particular combination, and I tried again, and third time lucky. I'm happy with the stitch distance. I switched to 3, and I'm also happy with the padding and the centralization and the edge paint. So I've made that, and I just have to make the top part and finish it off. So challenging, but still getting through that and realizing that I can work things out. It is empowering, and I don't know why I always avoid things, even though I've been through this with other products in the past when I've had bespoke orders. I know that I can figure things out, and so by keep on avoiding them, I am not really training that muscle to get better at figuring things out quicker and also improving. That would happen with each iteration. So lots of lessons for me there moving forward when I'm thinking about how I want to change things within my business. As I mentioned, I find it really challenging to record videos when I'm not in the studio. I did take my Osmo Action 5 with me and attempted to record vlog style content, but I just didn't like the way it looked, and sitting down and editing it just felt like a lot. So I didn't do it. But it is something that I want to get better at, because that will open up avenues for me to make different type of content, and I want to get better at understanding how to shoot the right type of videos and then make content that's more engaging. I'm not sure how engaging you are finding these videos of me just sitting here and talking. From what I understand, people don't really connect with these type of videos. It's quite hard to stay engaged and listen to someone for this amount of time maybe. So I am going to improve. I probably should make some videos and post them so that I get into, or rather get out of my comfort zone, because it doesn't matter how good I get, right? The first thing that we do that's new is never going to be something that we like when we look back in the future. Next week is the second week of the learn phase, and I'm really looking forward to what insights I'm going to get. I'm also going to come to the workshop so that I can finish these orders and have them posted, so they're off my plate. So from Saturday next week, I can just get on with producing the stock for the shop. I've also decided that I'm going to hand over things that I don't enjoy doing or that are going to create friction during this time. So I really want this pop-up for me to be about more than just the sales, because I really think that it's a great opportunity to be in front of clients that I usually wouldn't be in front of in this central London location. So I want to be able to capture as much details as I can about who these people are, how they interact with my products, have things ready for email welcomes, workshop sign-ups, trying to invite the right type of people in for events, press. I really want to make sure that the learning that I've got about what I'm about and what I'm doing, that I really take advantage of being in this location so that I can really push forward with these new personal changes that I want to make in my business, and really to understand how I want to structure things going forward. Because, as I said, I've done markets and different types of things before, but I think this is unique in that it's going to be in the West End, and that brings a very different set of people, different eyeballs on my work, and I want to really capture that. If you've got to the end, thank you for watching this longer weekly wrap up of Diary of a Leather Craftsman. If you've enjoyed this video, then please like and subscribe. And also, more importantly, I'd love to hear your comments. What struggles have you had this week? How are you doing as a creative or a maker? If you've resonated with anything in this video, I'd love you to share that with me, and let's have a conversation about that, because I think we could all do with support in these really challenging times for us all. That's all for today. Thanks for watching, and see you next week.